Kathy Woodard with Clemson University Public Service and Agriculture, and I'm here at the South Carolina Water Resources Conference in Columbia, South Carolina. I have with me Senator Danny Verdin. He is from District 9, a member of our state Senate. He just got through with a panel discussion, I believe, related to water resource management here in the state of South Carolina. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Being willing to give us some time.
Great time.
For this. From your perspective, what do you think are the most pressing needs we have in South Carolina related to water resources?
Well, preparing for the future, we are quantifying what our current needs and our current trends, our current usages are, and even historical trends and usages, but quantifying for the future is, in my estimation, the most pressing need we have as policymakers, as professional planners and engineers. We're experiencing such rapid growth in our population and in all our economic sectors as well, manufacturing, agriculture, one of our largest manufacturing sectors, if you can, for our purposes, we're considering water usage. What are we going to be looking like, and what will our demands be 10 years from now, 20 years from now? So for this water conference, and really appreciate Clemson University with its forward-thinking agenda, bringing focus to bear on this issue. We as public policymakers, there were 4 of us here today as legislators, but the 140 or so of professional planners, even students. It's so encouraging to see young people involved that are, even high schoolers working on a high school diploma, but we also have baccalaureate degree candidates and advanced degree candidates here today as well. So that is all a forward-looking look to the future, and I think that's what is most bearing on us, number one importance. Learning from mistakes, learning from our past, but more importantly, preparing for the next generation, our children and grandchildren.
That's correct. Sustainability.
Yes, ma'am, there's the word.
There's the word you were looking for.
There's the scientific word,
there
thank you.
We've had a lot of discussion here at this conference for the last couple of days about emerging technologies and research needs that the state has as we're trying to put together things like the state water plan. What do you see as being some critical research needs related to some of the industries that we have in the state in water resource management?
Well, a subject that was only briefly touched upon in our session, a glancing blow, if you will, reconciling historical engineering, especially with our civil infrastructure, to the current and future needs. And I'm relating this to Hurricane Florence. A lot of what we're learning from a hydrological standpoint is that the DOT infrastructure might have been a contributing factor to some of the flooding, some of the floodplain issues from in the Waccamaw, Sandpit, and Black River basins. So those are things that we might have to go back and re-examine. Okay, we have some infrastructure here, and I'm really talking about specifically, it's been mentioned by some of my legislative colleagues from Horry County, that the old 501 causeway may have contributed in some way, but that's 65, 70-year-old infrastructure. Back then it was all farmland. Now there are thousands and thousands of residences and businesses that are in those what are now developed areas. So that's being able to adjust what's considered permanent civil infrastructure. That's something we're going to have to look at as policymakers, and especially from an allocation of resources, a distribution of the state's general fund budget or transportation dollars. Those are issues that maybe were not seen even as acutely 2 or 3 weeks ago, but here now, because we see the suffering and the loss of especially property. Thankfully not a terrible loss of life, and we lament every one that suffered tragedy, but the loss of property is staggering.
Well, it's one of those things you just mentioned, shifting from planning from a rural environment to one that's more urban, and that's what you see happening in the areas like Horry so quickly, in the rural areas.
That's right. The coastal, I enjoy going back and referring to something that y'all have done at Clemson again, I think through the Strom Thurmond Institute, and that is the raw data census population mapping. I remember how struck I was when I first saw the red measles dots for every 1,000 persons and how through 2020, 2030, 2040, the whole low country especially just turns into a red paint splotch because of the growth there in the low country. I tongue-in-cheek sometimes say, I hope that Myrtle Beach to Beaufort doesn't look like Daytona to Orlando to Tampa St. Pete, but put it this way, no matter who comes amongst us as family, friends, and neighbors as South Carolinians, we want to have the best quality of life possible for those that are here and all those that come to join us in the future.
Very good. So what's the next step for the South Carolina State Senate related to water resource management?
Well, let me tell you, I believe that water planning professionals who are well represented here today are looking to the General Assembly to implement the forthcoming water plan. And whether the water plan is finalized in 2019, 2020, I believe that that will be the focal point of legislative efforts, whether it's making statutory adjustments or even regulatory law adjustments to our code. We will be focused on the recommendations of the state water plan, which will be in its third iteration. We're currently operating off a 2004 plan. But I'm very encouraged. The river basin studies have been concluded. There's great work going on now with the capacity use areas for groundwater management and regulation. I believe that a lot of technological advancements in quantifying the resources have taken place, especially in the last decade, which will enable and assist the General Assembly in policy directives. So looking forward to coming to grips with the state water plan as presented.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Kathy.
And
enjoyed it much.
Good luck next session.